Alright, everybody, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Dev with Excel once again. And today I'm going to be showing us how I solved exercise 1.1. Right? I'm not going to be showing us, or I am not going to be explaining to us all these notes here. These notes are for our own personal consumption, right? So we are all expected to study these notes, this entire notes. That's from here down to this part. We are expected to study them ourselves individually, right? But the exercises I'm going to be showing us how I did mine. So there are different ways everybody could have solved theirs, right? But I'm going to be showing us how I solved mine. So you are expected, once again, you are expected to go through this entire note yourself, right? And don't base your learning journey on just my solutions, right? That would not be nice if you do that, and you're not going to get the best of this course if you do that also, because I'm not going to be explaining so much that has been explained in this note. Rather, I'm going to be solving the exercises. Okay, hope that's clear. All right, so this part talks about the submission, how you make your submissions. Don't worry, when you begin this course, you will get the hang of all of these aspects, right? So let me just head over straight to the question, the exercise 1.1. So this is exercise 1.1. It says course information, step 1, right? And it says the application that we will start working on in this exercise will be further developed in a few of the following exercises. In this and other upcoming exercise sets in this course, it is enough to only submit the final state of the application. So what they actually mean here is that there's a way you will solve exercise 1.1, and also inside the file for exercise 1.1, or inside the folder for exercise 1.1, you can edit exercise 1.1 and continue 1.2 from it. But the way I did mine, I solved exercise 1.1 as a separate exercise from exercise 1.2. So that means that after solving exercise 1.1, I didn't make any changes to exercise 1.1. I copied the entire folder of 1.1, I duplicated it and then named it 1.2 and made my edits on 1.2. So hope that's clear enough. All right, so in this exercise we are to use Vite to set up our application, right? We modify the main.jsx to match the following. Now let's also note that Vite is used to set up this application. That's why we have main.jsx. If you are using create react app, you may not be getting main.jsx. You may be getting index.jsx, right? So don't be confused when you begin to see main.jsx for Vite and index for JSX for create react app, right? Okay, now this is saying that we should initialize our application and modify main.jsx. Now this should be main.jsx, right? And this is app.jsx. Now we are expected to have this content in our app.jsx, which I'm going to be doing now. And then, okay, so let's do this first. Let's have this in our main.jsx and let's have this in our app.jsx. So I move to my VSCode. Okay, so I remove this entire part. Okay, so it seems that the main.jsx is already the way we are expected to have it, and the app.jsx is empty for now. So I'm going to come here. Now, one of the good parts of this program is you can easily just copy the entire code by clicking on this copy. You don't need to highlight the entire code and then no. By clicking on this copy, you've copied the entire code in this box here. So I'm just going to click on the copy and go back to VS Code and paste. All right, so okay, let me close this. Now let's save this and then let's also run this app. to be sure of what we are doing, right? Let's run this app to be very sure that our setup is great. Now, I didn't show us how to do this setup, right? In short, you are going to understand how to get this by the time you take that first note, right? That's why I keep on saying, don't skip the notes, study the notes. It's very important. You are going to be told how to set this entire application up, right? So don't be scared, just study the notes. Okay, now let's run this code. Let's go to the terminal. Let's select a new terminal. Let me just close this. So we select a new terminal. Okay, it's just a moment. I think my device is a bit slow. Okay, all right. So we can see here that my file path is desktop slash full stack open solutions, which is this. But the exercises that I'm going to be working on, they are in step 1 folder. So I'm simply going to copy the path for step 1 and then I move into it. Okay, then after doing that, your setup might not exactly be like this. There's a reason why my setup looks like this. That's because, okay, let me just share with us why my setup is like this. Excuse me. My setup is like this because this is step 1, right? This is step 1 of the exercise. There's also a step 2 of the for the exercise, right? And these are steps for the exercise course information. That's the reason why when you look at this part here, we have step 1 inside the course info, right? We have step 1 inside the course info. Okay, so we have step 1 inside the course info, and course info it belongs to the part 1, which is this entire page is the part 1. We can see it here, part 1. And then I have my general folder, which is full stack open solution. So there's a reason why I actually made it this way, because we are also going to be having step 2, step 3, and other steps. All those steps will belong to course info. After when we are through with course info, more exercises are going to show up inside part 1 that will not be course info, right? So we are going to create another folder inside part 1, and then we continue with the steps inside that other folder. All right, so to run this particular application, we need to come to the package JSON and know what to put there. Now, in the package JSON, we can see that we have dev here, right? Dev in the script, right? And that goes for Vite. We want to run the Vite application. So we simply just come here and say npm run dev. Then we hit enter. Okay, so just a few moments. I need to work on this system. It's a bit slow. Okay, so it's coming up. Yes, so it's ready and it's running on the port 5173. Now, this is the default port used by Vite, right? So some people call it Vite, some call it Vite. I call it Vite, right? Okay. All right, so that's 5173. Now, let's go to our browser and run this app based on that port. So let's say localhost 5173, which is this. Let's see if it runs. Okay, yes, this runs actually. So we have half stack application development, and these are everything we have that we are expected to get running this particular app at this stage. Okay, now going back to the question, exercise 1 is, it says, let's see what it says again. Okay, so it says we should make sure that we modify the main.jsx to become this and the app.jsx to become this. Now, I would like to just explain something to us when it comes to React, right? Now, what this main.jsx does is this. Let me close this package. What this main.jsx does is this. It helps us to render this app component. Now, this is what we call a component called app. Now, we can get it from here. This is the app component, which is this. It's a function, right? It's a component. Now, how did we get it here? We imported it from here and then we used it here. If we had commented this out, if I comment this, our app will simply stop working, or simply put, our app crashes. So when we come here and I refresh this, okay, so we can see it's blank because we are no longer using app. It can't see app, right? Because we commented the import statement. Okay, all right, so that's that. Also, we can choose to render something which is not this here. We can choose to render something else. Let's assume we want to render a color, let's say blue. We simply just put blue inside this p tag, right? We can use a p tag or any tag you want to use. When we save this, we see that we get blue here. So what this main.jsx does is it helps us to render anything inside this render function. But in our own case, we are not using the blue in the p tag, right? We are simply using the app because we've imported app and want to render everything on app. Now, what is inside app? App is everything from here down to this part here. That's app. So we were able to use this app because we exported it here. That's why we were able to import it in main.jsx. Okay, having said that, the question for exercise 1, let's go back to check it. Okay, so we've been able to do this part. We've done this part also. Now let's see what it's saying here. It says we should remove the extra files, app.css and index.css. Also remove the directory assets. Okay, so I am going to check my directory if I have those files. I don't have those files here. I only have app.jsx and main.jsx because I had already removed these files already. Right? Okay. Unfortunately, the entire application is in the same component. Refactor the code so that it consists of 3 new components: header, content, and total. All data still reside in the app component, which passes the necessary data to each component using props. Header takes care of rendering the name of the course. Content renders. Okay, so here let's begin by having these 3 different components first. Then after that, we move down to the next instructions. Okay, all right, so let's go to app.jsx. Yes, that's where we are. Then let's create the header, the content, and the total. So it says that the header takes care of the name of the course. All right, let's begin with that. So the name of the course is half stack application development. So we are going to be creating another component called header. So we say const header, then we use the arrow brackets and we do this, right? Then we simply copy what we have here, or rather we cut it and we place it here. Then instead of returning it here, we return it inside its own component called header. So we can just come here and have our separate div. Before then, we write the return statement, and then we cut this and place this inside a div. So we can just say div and then place that here. So let's save this, let's run, and let's be sure that our code doesn't break. Let's see if our code still remains the way it is. Now we can see that here the title is no longer there, right? Because there's something we are supposed to have done here, but we've not done. Okay, so what is that? Now that we've been able to define a new component, we need to use this component called header. And where can we use this component? Now, to use this component, we could just come to this part here, directly under this div, and do something like this. Okay, so this enables us to use this component inside this app component. Now, header is a component, app also is a component. Header is referred to as a root component. Sorry, app is referred to as a root component, which means that every other component can be rendered inside this app component. The reason why is because we are exporting app components, right? We are not exporting header components. So for us to export app component, and it's going to have the implementation of every other component, that means every other component should be rendered or used by this app component, right? I believe that explains it. Okay, now let's go back and see if we have the title of this course displayed. Yuppie, yes, it's here now. So we have half stack application development, right? So that's what we are going to be doing for the other two components as well. Let's go back to the question and see what we are asked to do. So it says content renders the parts and their number of exercises. Okay, so this is what we want to do next. So here we come here and we define the contents components. All right, so we usually use a return statement. This is more like this, most times like a constant. We almost always use it, right? Okay, so how can we work this? What this means is that we are asked to render the parts and their number of exercises. So instead of us directly placing them inside this app component, we are simply going to take these parts and exercises and then place them inside the content component. I hope that is very clear. So I'm simply going to cut this part and then paste it here. Then what do we return? We need to return the parts and the exercise, right? That's the instruction we were given. So inside this return statement, we can simply just write a div and then copy the entire thing we have here. We cut it rather and we paste it here. Then we save. All right, so let's check if what we've done is correct. Okay, so it seems everything is off, right? Everything is off. So we need to do something. The reason why this is like this is because we've not rendered this content in the app component, right? So we need to come to this app component here and do what we did for header. We do this and write this content slash the greater than sign. Then we save. Okay, so it seems there's something wrong. There's something wrong. We need to check exactly what is wrong. Okay, we have div, return div. Okay, something broke actually. Let's confirm what happened. Oh, okay, yes. So this is not supposed to be the last here. This curly brace is supposed to be before this round bracket. So we simply just place it up. Or rather, we don't even need. Okay, okay, okay. It's fine this way. It's fine. Yes. I don't think there's any problem with this. Then where is this issue coming from? Okay, we have the return, the p tag. Let's check if our program is still running fine. Content, that spell content well. Consider. Okay, so now let's comment this entire part here. Now this is what we call debugging, right? We have to debug. We have to know exactly where the issue is coming from. Let's also comment this. Then let's run. So this shows that header also is not properly working. Okay, so I think I found the reason. I think I found the reason. Okay, so the reason why this is not displayed right now is because we need to get rid of these parts. Since we've already begun using components, right? We've begun rendering components. We need to get rid of this. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to work for, let's see the instruction again. So after, okay, so when we comment this, we are going to see that we'll be having the rendered pages, the rendered page looking nice, right? So we have the rendered page looking very nice now, right? Because we commented on this, right? But we are going to use this. So what we need to do next is to check the last instruction. It says, and total renders the number of exercise. Now we are going to create a total component also. So we call it total. So we come here and say const total equals, then we use the return statement. So here we simply just come here and then we cut this and we place it inside this. Then we save. Let's see if this is going to work. But before that, we need to know exactly what we want to return for the total. What's exercise 1? Exercise 1 as a variable is not defined inside the component total, right? That means we are going to get that fixed. So we need to work for exercise 1, 2, and 3, right? So let's come here and then let's copy each of these exercises into the total component. So we come here, we paste, we don't need this, we remove it, we don't need this, we remove it, we also don't need this, we remove it, right? So we save, let's give it some space here. So we save. Then the next we need to do is we need to place this component in the root component, app. So let's paste it here and do this. Now hopefully our app works fine. Let's check it out. Okay, now we can see that our app works very fine. It says half stack application development, fundamentals of React 10. Now this is just the same way it was when we started with this exercise. This is exactly how they gave us this exercise here, right? So now we've created different components to still make it work fine. Okay, so it's written here that define the new component in the app file app.gxx. The app components body will approximately be as follows. So exactly what they ask us to do here is what we just did, and then more also. So they expect us to actually do more here, right? So how do we do this? They expect that the apps components body will approximately be something like this, where we'll be having course is equal to course here and the likes. So let's head over to the next solution.